Hi everybody, welcome to the Manhwa narrator channel. Today we will retell you a manhwa in which the strongest warrior became a nanny. Events took place in the ruins of the temple of the goddess of life. Inside the ruins, a guardian boss who was guarding the temple ruins suddenly appeared. His name was Tide of Sorrow. Our hero, who came to fight this monster, starts his first attack. He swings his sword and destroys the dungeon boss with one swing, imposing an incredible pressure effect on him. The hero who defeated the monster receives a notification. The notification says that the Dead Beast Boxing Gym is accepting students. Congratulations on receiving the first award for the destruction of the legendary boss. A surge of sadness. The reward for the first destruction is the eternal tears of the goddess of life Themis. Your record of bravery has been announced on the World Channel. Also, along with the prize, the hero was given 3,000 game experience. The player receives a legendary item, the eternal tears of the goddess of life Themis. The tooltips for the item say, reduces the recharge time of all your recovery skills by 70%. Also, when regenerating skills, the cost of mana cost is reduced by 50%, and the effectiveness of all your recovery skills is increased by 200%. After using the received item, the player looked at the clock. The clock was 10 minutes to 12. His online activity was coming to an end. You need to make a deposit in the gold mine cart. And now, it's time for our first meeting with the hero. He took off his VR glasses and took a deep breath. His gaze was of years to devour people. The rest who played the game with him were scared him. And one of them said, "This kid, he just came from there, from a trip to the legendary dungeon, the remains of the goddess Themis." It seemed to our hero that until something new happened in life, and the rest were talking about him. One of the speakers told the others that this kid almost did not distinguish the game from reality. He considers everyone to be monsters. When leaving the classroom, our hero ran into some pink-haired girl who asked him if he was from the upper classes. But the girl was so worried that she didn't even let him answer, and she herself shouted, "Ike, Exujingyi, recently transferred here. I saw how the grandparents from the neighboring houses fed the cats here and wanted to too. I love cats so much. Can I ask a high school student to also feed the cat at the school gate after class? Please." Well, so, what? Our main character immediately answered her, "Of course." Then they met. Since the girl had already introduced herself, it remained only for him to introduce himself. It turns out his name was Yin Zhang. He is an ordinary high school student whose family has his own business, namely, a martial arts hall called Dead Animal Boxing Gym, which is now here it closes. About martial arts, he showed great interest in them since childhood and also was not deprived of talent. Therefore, he made many enemies due to constant fights. Telling the girl about this, he was noticed by one of those whom he beat. Noticing him, he immediately shouted, "BOSS, Boss, here he is, the one who did this to us." His boss looked like a thug, with a scar on his forehead. He said to him, "Your name is Yin Zhang. This is crazy. So you painted my brothers like that?" Yin Zhang only agreed, and the evil boss had already raised his fist and shouted, "Well, what have my little brothers done, since they have been swept away to such a state?" Before he could finish speaking, Yin Zhang jumped back and used his leg to sharply attack him, pinning his face to the ground. The leader of the beaten one, lying on the ground, could only utter the word, "Kozlin." Toddler Yin Zhang realized that he overdid it a little, but from what had just happened, all the seers were in complete shock. The girl, seeing what he did to the bandit, misunderstood everything and said, "It turns out that you are a senior. It turns out you are a bad high school student." And with squeals, she began to run away from him. But he wanted to stop her and shouted after her that she just misunderstood him, and he could explain everything. He realized that trying to stop her was futile, and then he realized what had happened. His body instinctively launched the most violent counterattack as soon as it faced a potential personal threat. And at that moment, he decided for himself that he had had enough, and he was tired of this dead animal boxing gym. Right on the doorstep of his house, Yin Zhang's father met him with a stick in his hands, with which he instantly tried to attack his son, but he instantly reacted to this and caught his father by surprise. He immediately grabbed his neck, but just as quickly released him. Yin Zhang said to himself, "Well, it was a good attempt to attack a defenseless high school student. However, I really can't escape the fate of inheriting this useless martial arts club. I even had to advertise our fighting gym in the game. Dead beast, it's tiring." But the father prudently heard everything that was said and shouted after him as he went up to his room. "Bastard! Since you are trying so hard to advertise us in the game, why has no one entered the hall? Dead beast." No one seemed to care about his thoughts. As a rule, people were dogmatic about their delusions. We found ourselves back in the game, namely in the tavern. Her name was Yi Xin. Once again, even in the tavern, he had to advertise the Dead Animal Martial Arts Club. He thought there was something unhealthy about picking a fight with the bad guys. Just because he was the only child in the family, he had to learn boxing and inherit a martial arts club. Even in the virtual world, he had to play as a character that he didn't like at all. Then the innkeeper came up to him and said, "In that case, dear, martial arts club Dead Beast is recruiting disciples. Following the momentary whims of your heart, even for a moment you can." When suddenly the voice broke off and an urgent notification came out, which said that due to internal technical work, access to all accounts will be temporarily blocked at 12:00. The Throne of Sword and Fire will also be unavailable for a while. Please make sure you have logged out of your account and left the server before maintenance. All the players sitting in the tavern were furious. They did not understand what was happening. Why this notification came so suddenly? They hoped it was just a joke. But when will this sometime come? They won't close forever, right? Yin Zhang lay on his bed and thought. He knew that soon the game would close, and he wouldn't see it. He remembered Yi Xin's words before the urgent notice appeared, due to which he didn't quite hear them. But even so, for just a moment he decided to enter the game, and the clock was already 11:59. Entry into the Throne of Sword and Fire is in progress. To start the game, you had to choose a race. The choice was given. UNLIFE, elves, humans, demi-humans. And then you had to choose a game class. The choice was given. Warrior, Master, Assassin, Hunter, Paladin. Character creation has been successfully completed, and now it is 12 o'clock. Suddenly, the place of what was happening changed. He received some kind of blow to the head, and in subsequent memories, some girl held his head and said, "God, forgive him." Saint Yin Zhan, your body was cleansed of filth with holy water. Yin Zhan, not understanding what was happening, instinctively used a technique, namely the fist of a dead beast, the fifth form. He threw the woman hard, just like a tiger, when suddenly an understanding of what was happening came to him. But the girl was already lying on the ground in complete shock, but she instantly recovered and continued to say, "Holy Yin Zhan, do you swear to serve the sacred light with your life? Will you save those who are in trouble? Even if your life is at stake, you can refuse the offer." But Yin Zhan swore to everything. Leaving the temple, there was a beautiful morning sun outside. Even the air was saturated with calmness, and the clock showed 11:59. It seemed to him that his sudden career as a paladin was about to end, and at 12 o'clock the system would kick him out of the game. But in the end, it took about half an hour. He did not understand what was happening, so he began to think that the technical work was postponed to another time. But there were no players next to him, and usually there are a dime a dozen of them. Then he thought that he had fallen into some kind of trap, and was glad about it, because if he was stuck, he could do something. First, it was worth visiting the Great Emperor for the rookie mission. But first, he went to the Golden Cart hotspot. He thought that if he entered the password, then his dream of becoming a paladin could finally become a reality. He moved from the Holy Sea of Light to the capital of Keezer's great empire, the City of Gas. Long live the great empire of Keezer. Long live Isultina I. Long live the great empire of Caesar. With such words of complete happiness, this quest greeted him. He remembered that halfway through this mission, A sudden attack by unknown magic would begin, and then the new Empress would leave them and go to another world at the coronation ceremony. After his mission as a paladin would be to save 10 wounded. While he was thinking about this, everyone suddenly started to run away. Something was happening. He thought it had already begun. The system put up a notification. Please follow the instructions of the system. Head to the green zone to avoid the meteorites. That's how this event began. The knight began to address Isaltina first, saying, "Your Majesty, we've been attacked. Magic attack. We need to leave." But she kept her cool and replied, "Obviously, this is the Imperial Department of Magical Protection. But how? Lion's Fury Knight Regiment can be sent to protect the capital as much as possible." Suddenly, their majesties suddenly noticed a crying child in the center of all these events with a magical attack, and without hesitation rushed to save the child. She grabbed the child and ran away, but a meteorite was already flying in her direction. Then she noticed Yin Zhang hiding, who did not understand what he needed to do. The Empress understood that there was nothing left for her. She shouted to Yin Zhang, "Hey, Paladin, catch the child." After she threw the child Yin Zhang, a meteorite fell right on her. Mission cutscene. Isaltina had very little health left, namely only 11 out of 1996. Yin Zhang could not understand what was happening to him. It was just an ordinary mission. But then why? He was so imbued with these feelings. TC. As a first-level paladin, his magic was limited by the abilities of a beginner. But how could he rely on the knights at a time like this? Even if he becomes a paladin, he is still useless. Even at such a time, Isaltina was the first to give her life for others. But what am I? At such a moment, I can only try to fight. Yin Zhan declared courageously and abruptly began to cast a magic spell. O merciful God of light, bestow your divine power and save this mortal. Using sacred healing, he began to heal the Empress. But suddenly an error popped up that said the health level was increased by 1. An undiagnosed injury, limbs failed. Divine internal damage. Seeing this, Yin Zhang thought that even if the eternal tear will increase his healer abilities by 200%, then he can only restore a pitiful crumb of her health. This made him very angry, but he did not give up and decided to use divine healing again. Over and over again, he repeated this magic spell. He was worried, because if he stopped using magical healing, then her health would drop to 0 at all. Then the knight handed Yin Zhang a handkerchief to dry off and said, "Times in a row to use divine healing. You were sent to us by the Almighty. But can you save yourself?" After saying the last phrase, the knight bared his blade and rushed towards Yin Zhang and tried to attack him. But he did not even suspect that an ordinary paladin would be able to repel his attacks. He did not understand how was this even possible. Yin Zhang became very angry and devoured the knight with his eyes and asked, "Hey, what is this strange behavior, boy? Who are you, huh?" He tore off his disguise and began to say, "Third phase blood moon, first quarter. Pros in shapeshifting and assassin techniques. The total number of opponents I destroyed, 237, and the king class targets, 6, the noble class targets, 122, the commander class targets, 44, and whoever envies the current level." Then it dawned on Yin Zhang, and he remembered. Official sources, I know they were founded by Scarlet Dusk Elves, the strongest assassins on the continent. In total, there are 9 members in the organization, each named after the phase of the moon. The price for their services is very high, so high that it is equal to those who are able to destroy a hero-class human. Then the villain interrupted our Yin Zhang's thoughts and began to say, "The great empire of Kizer enslaves other races and nations, hatred and anger. The strategic magic attack was just right to destroy the gas, and I was personally sent to destroy the new Empress at the right moment. You're just lucky to be in such a situation." When suddenly Yang Zhang said something that sent the villain into a complete stupor, he said, "Well, done with the bullshit. Once finished, I need to go and save people. And with a bleeding Empress, it's not so easy." What he said very much angered the villain. so much so that he immediately rushed into battle with him, deciding that he was looking down on him. Yin Zhang instantly counterattacked the enemy using his signature fist strike Dead Beast, the 11th form, and also continued with the fist of the Smashing Bull. His blows were so strong that one of the strongest assassins was on his knees and passed out, and he just calmly continued to run, telling him that he should not be distracted when he's trying to save the people. He ran to Isoltina first and continued to use divine healing magic over and over again until he healed her to almost full health, but the divine healing restored her health temporarily. It couldn't sustain her condition while she was constantly losing health. Yin Zhang needed to urgently level up and use divine restoration again. Then it began to dawn on him that something was wrong. Why was he able to use the fist of a dead beast in the game? Also, the dexterity of the Blood Moon Assassin was about 1,200 points higher than him. For his level, it was simply impossible to repel his attack, when suddenly he noticed that the NPC badge above their heads was gone. He was terrified, but as soon as he remembered that the most important thing at that moment was the task of leveling up as quickly as possible in order to learn divine restoration, he lifted the Empress, and as they moved, she woke up and immediately attacked him because she misunderstood, because he was carrying her with him. He wanted to calm her down and explain what was happening, but it seemed she was not going to stop. She was simply furious, because she mistook Yin Zhang for a mongrel of the sacred table. Realizing that she was not going to listen to him, but only attacked, he used the 3rd form of the fist of a dead beast to break her and knocked her to the ground using a chokehold. He again asked her if she was going to listen to him, and he did not understand what kind of tricks they were, because he had never seen paladins fight like that. Meanwhile, someone had already made it to the 18th floor of the Imperial gas prison, but everyone who saw him ended up on the ground because he was too strong for them. He continued to make his way further and further. And now, after 30 years of imprisonment, this executioner owes another visit to the royal family. He made his way to one of the 4 great heralds of the Wild Howl Coalition, namely the executioner of the Kurzadork, who immediately intended to destroy him. But we are returning, which happened to Yin Zhang. The Empress asked him to remove his legs, and he, in turn, said that he could explain everything that was happening to Her Majesty the Empress in 5 seconds. Then he returned the crown to her and began to explain. He began to say, "I was going to congratulate you on your coronation as a rookie paladin from the Holy Throne, but the great ceremony was interrupted by a magic attack, and you were seriously injured when you rushed to save the little girl. So I tried to heal you until the Blood Moon Assassin, who was disguised as your knight, attacked me, intending to destroy me. I started to fight back, first kicked him, and then the Empress interrupted him and said, 'Stop. I'm willing to ignore the fact that an empire and a holy throne absolutely don't fit in the same sentence, but you said that you were a rookie paladin. You were able to defeat a Blood Moon Assassin, and you think I'll believe?' Then he thought and said that it was unlikely that she would believe him. She replied that therefore he should go to the Imperial prison, but he thought that messing with her was a waste of time, because his main goal was to go to Yixin after the mission. After thinking about this, he stood up, turned around and was about to leave, saying after, 'What difference does it make? Believe me or not, I have other things to do. Bye-bye.' But suddenly, out of nowhere, the executioner Kurzadork escaped, who grabbed the man. The Empress, seeing the executioner Kurzada, thought that the prison was also destroyed. Kurzatu was so impressed by the event that again, after 30 years of imprisonment, he got out and shouted in front of everyone. Everyone saw everything? I will continue to tear people apart piece by piece. Yin Zhang began to remember that he seems to have heard about this Kurzat once. It seems that he was mentioned in the lore of the game. He is one of the 4 great heralds of the Wild Howl Coalition that invaded Middle-earth. Kurzatu was about to eat his victims like a snack, but the Empress stopped him abruptly. Kurzatu drew attention to her and noticed that the coat of arms of the Keyser family was on it. He immediately threw away the useless people he was holding and approached Isoltina first, who did not even move. He ordered her to bring Keyser. Then she shouted at his father, "Hey, how bold! How dare you open your mouth in the presence of the Empress of Caesar's empire? I am Isaltina Caesar, and you are just another fry that my grandfather defeated, and I will defeat you in the name of the Caesar family. Yin Zhang, watching all this, noticed the characteristics. A clear advantage in battle was for the Kurzatu, since he had 78,000 health, 100th level, 2640 units of strength and dexterity of 322 levels, while Isaltina only had 2,000 health, 66 strength, and also 98 dexterity. Watching all this, Yin Zhang kept recalling the lore of the game, which said that all warriors of the Caesar family have incredible strength, despite to your floor. Isaltina decides to attack first, and Yin Zhang tries to dissuade her, shouting to her, "No, stop. You hate ye no chance. You will be destroyed. Umitty first strike." They both swung at each other, but something incomprehensible happened in front of the Isaltina. She was thrown back. Before she even noticed, she was attacked. She flew into the ground again. Her health level remained at 215. She received the second-level limb damage effect, as well as the second-level internal damage. Yin Zhang immediately ran up to her and was about to heal her, but she stopped him and said, "This is a battle of warriors. I have the honor and dignity of the family to endure. I can't let the fucking paladin from the Holy See interfere." But Yin Zhang told her that something was wrong with her wounds, so she should hurry and get out of there. But Kurzatu began to provoke the Empress with his own words. He said, "Is there no one else in the Caesar family?" Well, what an insignificant Empress the family gave birth to. It seems that the Empress is on the verge of collapse. Having successfully provoked her, she rushed forward, trying to attack him again, and also shouted to him, "Hey, the name of Caesar is not an MPT sound to you, but ETERNALMEMORI. How dare you OPE in your mouth?" Kurzatu swung again and said, "Looks like not a long memory, as far as I can see." The Empress flew away. Her health was on the edge. She was almost defeated. She was left with 8 health points. As at that time, Yin Zhang was running towards her, who complained after him, saying, "Damn it, you really are such a problematic NPC, I'm Shoksiki." He was about to heal her, when suddenly he heard her request that he give her a sword. She told him that the Imperials never surrender, and then he remembered his father, who during the training once told him that as long as the one who wields the techniques of the dead is beast, he will never accept defeat. While Yin Zhang was flying in his memories, the executioner Kurzatu approached him from behind, who taunted him. "Ha ha ha ha, boy, are you from the Holy Throne? Are you going to treat her right under my nose?" To which Yin Zhang replied, "That's enough, you won. You got your freedom. Now go." What he said infuriated Kurzata, so he maliciously told him, "Ha ha, are you kidding or what? I'm going to bite off her cute little head and hang it on the city gates. I came here to clean the orcs from shame, from that defeat 44 years ago." While saying that, he noticed that Yin Zhang didn't even pay attention to him, so he decided that this unpleasant guy should go to the other world with her and used a blow with a hammer. Bone crushing. But Yin Zhang used only one hand to stop his attack, shocking both of them. Then Kurzatu realized that Yin Zhang was very dangerous. He was not going to stop his attacks, so Yin Zhang decided to immediately finish him off with his signature move, Dead Beast Fist, Form 4. He also used a kangaroo kick from behind and a jump. With one blow, he defeated Kurzata and managed to catch him with one hand so that he would not fall on the Empress, who was lying on the ground. After defeating his opponent again, he couldn't understand why he could use the fist of a dead beast in a game. He just wanted to be a paladin. And then he noticed that the health of the Empress had fallen again, so he used divine healing magic again. After bringing her out of her lethal state, he changed her position from lying to sitting and continued the treatment. It seemed to him that compared to the battles, the treatment was somehow debilitating. Having changed his position, he was closer to her, and then he noticed that the closer he was to her, the faster he could heal her. All sorts of thoughts filled his head. He knew that now he could touch her. When he touched it, he noticed that the recovery speed increased by almost 10 times. She woke up at the moment when he grabbed her charms. She was embarrassed and angry at the same time. She tried to attack him, but he caught the attack and continued to heal her. At that moment, the knights came running and tried to stop him, saying that he could now hurt the majestic Empress. Seeing what he was doing to the Empress, he offered him a choice. Answer immediately. What would you prefer? Lose your hand or immediately give up life? The one who made such a statement was Shatton. Yin Zhang did not think that he would meet Shatton there. Shatton became famous for the fact that on his 5th expedition against the orcs, he destroyed 5.5 million orcs, destroying several of their leaders in the process. Sekar II bestowed on him not only the title of Duke, but also made him the Supreme Marshal of the Empire. It is popularly called the Sword of the Empire. He is a level 200 neutral character, and also the most powerful character of the Empire according to version 4.26. He is definitely not the one who should be pissed off. Yin Zhang, trying to throw everything off for a mistake, told him that he was a simple paladin who tried to heal Her Majesty the Empress, but this still pissed him off a lot, so he attacked him without hesitation with his signature skill. Character's deadly skill, Swift Massacre. Shatton closed his eyes during the attack, so he did not immediately understand that he had dodged, but he understood this only because the knights from behind were shocked by what they saw, because the guy who was attacked by Shatton himself after his blow was intact. The Duke was shocked. He thought how his swift slaughter missed. How did this dim-witted, beggar and low-ranking paladin do it? But Yin Zhang was very scared at that moment, because he would hardly have been able to dodge this attack if the Shatton had not warned him about that he was going to attack him. So what is the strongest man in the Empire? The Empress, seeing that Yin Zhang was unharmed, told Shatton that he really tried to heal her and asked him to let him go. But Shatton did not say a word how he got out of there. But Shatton thought in his mind, even the Pope of the Holy See, Mr. Zhao, could not evade my sword. But you, Paladin of the Iron Cross, and he asked out loud, who are you on really? He answered him that he was a man who had no childhood. He was 18 years old. Yin Zhan endured the most difficult training from childhood. At the age of 8, he dragged a bus with people in it, because it stalled on the mountain. His father cheered him up during training, saying that if he pulled another 2 kilometers, they could eat chow mein noodles. He told Shatton that since childhood, his father raised him as a warrior, and forced him to train for all these pointless martial arts. Shatton turned around in an attempt to attack him again and asked, do you think, will I believe this nonsense? But Yin Zhang dodged his attack again. The Empress had already begun yelling at Shatton to stop attacking her savior. But it didn't seem like he was going to stop and decided to use his long-range attack, which was called Buried Alive. Shatton was beginning to irritate Yin Zhang, so he began to take their battle seriously and dodged all of his attacks. But some still hurt him a little. Shatton told him, you don't seem to know at all what is behind the history of this sword. To which Yin Zhang replied, no, but I can just look at the window with the C characteristics. Opening this very window with characteristics, it was written there, the type of this sword. One-handed, the weight was only 0.16 kilograms, and the rarity was epic at all. The average damage of a blow was 112 to 295 health units. It also acquires special equipment properties. When equipped with this weapons, attack speed and accuracy are increased by 300 and 150% respectively PSSIV. Each swing adds an additional Crescent of the Winds bonus as a gift on the founding day of Keezer's great empire. This one-handed sword was made in the 11th Kingdom by the Nephrite King Emerald Moncelot, who forged weapons from his own flesh. But it's not just the sword, but a living plant that has powerful natural energy. The hilt was covered with incredibly thin wood spikes. The sword bearer always feels constant intense pain. To Yin Zhang's surprise, Shatton was willing to endure such pain in order to hold this sword. Shatton again tried to attack Yin Zhang, to which he immediately reacted and decided to use a wolf claw strike, But by that moment, the Empress was already furious because the two dared to ignore her orders. She sharply shouted, "Tai Upi," on the wall. But it seemed it was already too late. Due to the fact that they could not stop, the most embarrassing situation occurred. They touched each other's lips. Both of them immediately vomited, and the rest were completely confused by what they saw. Then the Empress was about to leave the gas. As Yin Zhang came up with the idea to offer her to heal her wounds, she was very embarrassed, and she shouted, "Don't come near me at all." After these words, she galloped away with Shatton on horseback. While riding, she started talking to Shatton. She said, "Shatton, I just realized that a conspiracy is brewing in the Empire. Help me with the investigation. I've already assigned a Rose Knight regiment to inspect Gaza's defenses, including your personal guards." The Empress said that there was no need, but Shatton replied, "Hey, didn't the Blood Moon infiltrate the Imperial guards and set up a prison break? It's not safe here anymore. And Your Majesty, try to fulfill part of your marriage contract with me as quickly as possible. Then I can protect you, and no one else will dare to lay a finger on you." The Empress asked him for more time to think over this treaty. So Yin Zhang used the fist of a dead beast in the game, and the NPCs seem to have self-awareness. How strange, Yin Zhang thinks. Yin Zhang thinks to himself, "When I put on the infinite terror of the goddess Themis, I was able to save the Empress, who, according to the story, was supposed to be defeated in the cutscene, as expected from the most legendary artifact. But without the defeated Isoltina, the Empire will not split, and then the three great kingdoms will not be restored. This contradicts the original plot of the game. If I remember the original plot correctly, after the defeat of the Isoltine, Shatton immediately declared his allegiance to the sacred throne of light. Stop then that magic attack, maybe. Oh no! He realized something and then rushed to Gaza. It was night. It seemed dangerous to go to the gap, but he remembered that when the guild group was investigating the underground gas systems, they stumbled upon hidden paths to the palace. Then he decided to go through the sewer, which smelled terribly. Because of this stink, health units were taken away from him, and in the moment he seems to have found something. But at some place, the maids met Mrs. Lucia, for whom the maids had prepared a bathroom. Mistress Lucia said, "The Duke has instructed us to suspend Her Majesty's service, and when you are in your room, the warriors will take over everything here. So don't drool, understand?" Yin Zhang thought he had found the right entrance, but it was the bathroom where Lady Lucia was taking a shower at the time. Miss Lumia thought they were rodents, but when the grate began to rise, she realized that it was definitely not them. She quickly threw on a towel, and then Yin Zhang got out. Yin Zhang's joy quickly faded when he realized where he was. Mistress Lucia was angry. She began to scream at him with the words, "Die, pervert," and from somewhere took out a weapon in the bathroom. Lady Lucia noticed our Yin Zhang's skills, and then said, "Your skills don't say that you're just a sick pervert." Yin Zhang, standing in a fighting stance, said, "Sorry, of course, for interrupting your bathing here, but I'm here to sleep, Empress. Trust the body or..." Before Yin Zhang could finish, Lady Lucia decided to suddenly attack him, referring to the fact that he was rubbing some nonsense to her. She used the assassin's magic skill, Freezing Rain. Ice spikes are always transparent. In this place full of steam, Yin Zhang would find it quite difficult to avoid them, but he dodged and climbed to the rear of his rival, grabbing her by the arms and pinning her to the floor. He used the usual hold-down technique, but Lady Lucia didn't even realize what had just happened. Pressing her to the ground, he noticed many scars on her back. Lady Lucia dislocated her bone to attack Yin Zhang with a piece of ice from her previous attack, but he caught her hand. At the same time, the maids went to the bathroom to bathe, and on the way they talked about her, they thought that because of her constant aloof appearance, she was most likely very cold in all love affairs. But as soon as they entered the bathroom, they decided that Mrs. Lucia was secretly meeting with a man in a bathroom in the palace. But she screamed, "Fools! They grabbed me." Hearing this, the maids immediately drew their blades and pounced on Yin Zhang. It happened so fast that he almost dodged the first attack. It was necessary to end this misunderstanding as quickly as possible, so he raised his hands and shouted as quickly as possible, "I surrender. Shutton has betrayed the Empire. He alone is responsible for the magical attack. I'm really here to save the Empress." With what he said, he put them into a stupor. But then they said, "Wunichat-rutl-kang abov. Ha ha ha. Destroyed immediately. Mad Lucida." Then he realized that it seems that the contribution of the shuttle to the Empire is really huge for them. They will not believe him. They were about to attack him again when Mistress Lucia stopped them and said, "What he says is true. Shutton indeed betrayed the Empire." One of the maids said, "But mistress, Shutton is one of the heroes that was on the Orc expedition." Then it turned out that Mrs. Lucia was a subordinate of Shutton, who betrayed his empire. Then the lady began to tell her story. Her parents died in the war, and at that time, Shutton saved her from starvation. He also took her to train as an Imperial knight. 15 years ago, Shutton wanted Lucia to spy on Her Highness and report all information to him. Then Her Highness was only 3 years old, and last month, Shutton ordered her to destroy Her Majesty at the coronation ceremony. But she could not do it. Keezer's great empire was created during the war, and all its rulers since the first Keezer were physically built to be good warriors. But Her Majesty, her concubine mother, died suddenly after a premature birth. Madame Lucia always carefully looked after her, and since the birth was premature and her mother died from an illness, Her Majesty's condition was always so fragile and required special sensitivity. Her Majesty was hardly destined to become a warrior because of her weak body. Many people in the palace despised her, even her father, Emperor Caesar too, always treated her with a special coldness. But Her Highness did not give up and began long trainings that even Lucia could not dissuade her from. She did not give up and told Lucia that since she was weak, she needed to put in 100 times more effort than the others. She believed that she had to live up to the expectations of her father and the rest of the elders. Grandfather once said, "Even if you lose your arm, don't you dare leave your sword." So she remembered it as the motto of their family. This went on day after day, day after day, even in those days when she became very ill, but she did not give up and continued her exhausting training. Lucia could not stop her from these trainings. On one of those days she said, "I just have to, otherwise my father will be upset." And after saying that, she was completely exhausted and passed out on Madame Lucia's knees. Mrs. Lucia couldn't watch it. After her story, the maids noticed that Yinzhang began to cry. Then he realized what an Isoltina had traveled to become an empress. If not for the 5 campaigns against the orcs, the other princes, they would have fallen victim. And since there were no other options, the terminally ill emperor was forced to make the princess heir to the throne. For refusing to obey Shutto's order, Lady Lucia was severely punished. Shutto used the python's dark flaming tail magic on her, which caused her to have these scars on her back. Dark flaming dragon tail. This weapon leaves deep, unhealed wounds that hurt excruciatingly every night. Jurgitz was cruel. Then Yinzhang said, "It turns out that you became one of those who were assigned to deal with the destruction of the Empress, but after your refusal, he hired the Blood Moon." Mrs. Lucia was in complete shock. She said, "How do you know? Just donat tdud her magistuli from kerzato. Do you doyanti say that it is you? Poor half educational could evad from shatton's atakig?" And the rest of the maids, they said, "Ho ho, and I heard that in addition to not even scratching himself, he also kissed the shuttle," said angered Yinzhang, and he yelled at the maid saying, "Hey, I did not plan to kiss him. It was an accident." Mistress Lucia interrupted them and said, "So, no time for jokes. The Shutton Knights must have already taken the capital. We need to rescue the Empress." Suddenly, one of the maids said, "But even the servants in the capital are under the control of his regiment. We will not even be able to see Her Majesty." And then suddenly, Yinjiang proudly declares, "Then let's make an effort together and save her. I am a paladin, and I am a cleric. A servant of the Holy Throne is here to help heal wounds on the battlefield." Mistress Lucia said, "I don't know how you survived Shatten's impact, but comparing us is like comparing firestorms in the sun and a candle in a candelabra. The gap between us is huge. There seems to be only one way to save Her Majesty. Please listen to me." After telling everyone about her great plan, she began to beg Yinjiang to help them, and he immediately agreed, saying that they could rely on him. But he said that first, he must heal their wounds. Now, the plan begins. Seeing what they had to overcome, he was, to put it mildly, a complete shock, and he decided to check with the maid who was with him. "Wait, do you want us to climb from here to the Empress's room?" She answered him, "That's right. Now all the interior decorations of the palace are guarded, so the only thing we can do is get through only from the outside. From here it's only 210 meters to Her Majesty's balcony, which is connected to the room. And with such narrow gaps in the brickwork, you'll have to prepare well. But don't worry, we'll all climb." After telling this, the other maid decided to play a prank on him, saying, "Have you already noticed how much panic is on his face?" Haha. But she didn't even notice that Yinjiang was already rapidly climbing the wall. They even thought he was some kind of lizard. That. He told them it was a bit high, sure, but it wasn't hard to climb. Then he remembered his training with his father, where he was practically on the verge of death every single day. At one of these trainings, he was climbing on some mountain, where it was even difficult to cling to which stones. He could not do this, but continued to hold on to them. Then his father, standing next to him, said to him, "Boring without equipment is an important part of the training process in the Club of the Dead Animal. Moreover, we climb only 17 hours. Yinjiang already wanted to eat. His father said that someone here had become a sissy, but no one would help him, so he released the only finger that he held on to the steep slope of the mountain, went down to his son, and gave him his favorite beef noodles, which was in his bag. Remembering this, he continued to climb, and the others followed him. They considered him a monster. He climbed the wall as fast as he could. And so he went up to the balcony to the Empress and noticed a door there. Then he took out the sand clock that Madame Lucia had given him. He remembered what she had said when she gave it, namely the instructions for it. When the sand in the clock runs out, you need to turn on sound trumpet number 13 in the Empress's room. He thought that if he came too early, he could have managed to heal all the wounds of Her Majesty. But when suddenly some stranger appeared in front of him, she immediately flew to his balcony when he was about to go to the Empress. Yinjiang was not a bit scared when he saw her. He thought that she was one of Her Majesty's guards. But this made her very angry, and she instantly swung her sword towards Yinjiang, but he dodged. By that time, the rest of the maids had also climbed onto the Empress's balcony. They had spent almost all their strength on this climb. Then he asked them if they did not know this guard, but they did not even immediately notice him, because they were very out of breath. Then he pointed to the guard from behind. It turned out that this was the commander of the regiment of knights, Black Rose. Dusk, one of the maids, said in horror. Really, in order to keep Her Majesty, Sutton instructed the regimental commander to protect her, and Yinjiang tried to remember if there was such a character in the game. Under the command of the regiment, there were several squads of the Rose Knights, namely, Anti-Spiritual Special Squad, Magic Special Squad, Protection Special Squad, and also Knight Special Squad. And Dusk was the captain of a Special Knight Squad. Dusk said, "Ooh, just like Mr. Sutton said, I'm really in a very interesting game. The situation in the head of the maids has changed dramatically. They thought that they would have to change their plan, because even the four of them can hardly, if they could drag out the battle with her. They had to take Her Majesty at all costs." Then Twilight said, "Come all one by one. I assure you, not one of you in my clothes will be able to touch." But Yinjiang grabbed her by the legs and said, "Do not move. Look at that gray face. You've definitely been poisoned. Now I'll heal you." Twilight tried to break free from Yinjiang's grip and succeeded. Breaking out, she shouted, This is mi natural complexion. Fuck. She broke free and slipped behind Ying Zhang's back, leaving the magic portal with which she escaped from his grasp. She said, "This is my mistake. Among the warriors of the Empire, really such an outstanding boy was found." She swung her deadly scythe, but Ying Zhang's answer left her. He told her, "Wrong. I'm just a cleric, and here they are warriors," pointing to the maids. The maids continued to say, "We are Her Majesty's servants, and we want to see her." Twilight answered them, "Oh, so you ordinary servants who climbed the tower just to see their Empress? After all, Shatton took the tower. Therefore, it's not so easy for you to see her." The maid said, "That's right. After all, Shatton is the ultimate villain." This phrase infuriated Dusk. She became angry because what kind of servants dared to call her Duke the ultimate villain? She disappeared from their sight using her hidden shadow skill. Yin Zhang thought that her hidden shadow skill had such a strong cloaking effect. Thinking about it, he noticed that almost all of the maids were already injured. The maids were at their limit, so they asked Mr. Yin Zhang to quickly go to Her Majesty, and they would have delayed Dusk at the same time, but he refused, saying, "As a cleric, as a paladin, I am here to save those who are close to death. Leave wounds just like that. Not for me. Therefore, it is necessary to restore blood circulation in the body." Dusk crept up behind and said, "Who would have thought that a cleric would be so sure that he could avoid death?" Dusk swung her scythe at Yin Zhang, but he stopped her with just one fist. Everyone warned him to stop trying to heal them because the Dusk was behind him, and he told them that he knew, because as soon as he said that he was going to cure them, she appeared behind him, giving away her location. At a loss, she did not understand how this cleric could see through her enrollment state. Yin Zhang recalled his training with his father, where he taught him the Kai property. Kai is a special energy that comes from every creature on Earth. For example, when darkness surrounds you, and the enemy cannot be seen at all, you need to use and understand his ki, and then you can fight him. The day after their training, his father was handcuffed, because those people who were watching their training decided that he was poaching because he overpowered a small bunch of wolves. At the same moment, he remembered the ki of those wolves, and thought, maybe I can't see you, but I can still feel your ki very well. Little weak she-wolf. She evaporated again, and surrounded Yin Zhang with her body. Dusk thought that this time the cleric had really humiliated her, only she made it clear to him that just because he could locate her, he couldn't survive. But Yin Zhang was waiting for the moment, and at that very moment immediately attacked the Twilight. She did not even have time to understand how she was leveled face to the ground. Yin Zhang said, "Well, since there is no more problem, we need to focus on the treatment." While they were fighting, the Empress was amusing herself in her room with ivy toys, like a little child. While she was doing this, Yin Zhang burst into the room, but the maids tried to stop him. They hardly succeeded. The Empress did not expect them to sneak into her room and did not wait for their arrival, so she calmly went about her business. Yin Zhang declared from the entrance, "Really, everything is as Lucia said. You hone your skills on toys. What seal?" The Empress did not know how to get out, so she just pretended that it was like that and played along with him, saying, "I didn't expect you to reveal me like that." Yin Zhang continued, "But such a practice is unlikely to bear fruit. I believe that you have to practice with real people to hone your marksmanship. It just looks like child's play." The Empress, full of anger, said, "I understand what you mean, but that doesn't explain why the hell you stupid paladin forgot in my palace." Then Yin Zhang decided to explain the situation to her. He told her that, in fact, Shatton had betrayed the Empire by Kaiser. Therefore, they came to save the Empress and take her away from the capital. The Empress became even more angry and took out her blade, which swung at Yin Zhang. The deputy began to say, "Hey, what makes you think that you can save me with your powers? And what makes you think that, standing right in front of me? Do you have the right to open your mouth?" Then the Empress cast her glance towards the direction with which her maids called her. She was so frightened that she did not even notice them right away. She immediately asked what they were doing there. and also confirmed Yin Zhang's words. They said that Lady Lucia sent them there. Yin Zhang interrupted them and said, "Turn on the sound trumpet at number 13 now." And then everything became clear. The Empress screamingly asked Yin Zhang how he knew about the sound trumpet, to which the maids told her that it was Sister Lucia who said so. She first thought what she was thinking, and then remembered where the 13th trumpet was located. It corresponds room. Lucia thought, where did they get such a chance to suddenly become direct witnesses? Lucia was next to Shatton, who was drinking wine greedily. Shatton said, without turning around, did you suddenly muster up the courage to meet me?" As the Empress, along with Yin Zhang and her maids, made their way to the chimneys, the Empress revealed that due to her father's suspicious nature and his desire to control all the envoys that came to the palace, the Engineering Academy was secretly entrusted to develop such a sound system. And after the engineers developed these pipes, the father personally executed everyone involved in the development. This secret was supposed to belong only to those who lead the country. As the game's reference material says, the one-eyed ardent emperor, Kaiser Aya, an incredibly cruel person. And so they finally got to the room, being in which they could hear everything that happened in the castle. The Empress did not understand how she knew about these pipes, but pressed the 13th and heard. The Blood Moon failed in its mission to destroy the Empress. So now I want to take this task. Please give your servant another chance. Lucia spoke. Then Shatton answered, and while the Empress was eavesdropping, he said, "A chance? I can give you a chance, however. The coronation has already been held. I have to wait for our wedding. When the time comes, I will be no worse than the royal regent, and I will rule the empire well too. If your majesty wants to run away, isn't now the time? His life, right, Lucia?" Shatton knew about the pipes through which their conversation was heard and knew that they were now eavesdropped. Lucia never told anyone about these pipes, but Shatton found out about them from somewhere and then said, "You and Her Majesty should not discuss something that you are not destined to understand." Lucia went on the attack, like her maid and nothing more. This, it seems, is her first and last serious mission for the sake of the Empress. Just for the sake of in order to protect Her Majesty, she decided to sacrifice herself by engaging in a fight with Shatton. Lucia was instantly defeated, and Shatton ordered Juliba is his subordinate, to quickly go and catch them. Yin Zhang told them to quickly run away from there, and he himself went to save Lucia. But the Empress, bursting into tears, grabbed him by the cloak and asked him not to go there. Then he thought, earlier, having met with Casardo, she would not thoughtfully. She rushed into battle, but the price for hearing Shatton's voice was horror, which seized her from the head. The Empress told Yin Zhang to go to the Hall of Fame and told him about the hidden teleportation circle located there. They began to run there very quickly, but there were knights in front of the door to the Hall of Fame with a teleport. Then they began to prepare for battle and rushed towards the knights. But while they were doing this, Yin Zhang had already defeated all the knights. They were followed by a bunch of bad guys who were intent on destroying them without a second thought. The door opened. Yin Zhang and the Empress ran forward, but suddenly noticed that all the maids stopped and told them to go ahead. They will play with the bad guys for a little more. The Empress, gathering her will into a fist, declared, "Hey, I order you all, live go." Without having time to finish, the door closed, but no one listened to her. Then Yin Zhang noticed that there was something on the bridge. That something was the Grey Rose of the Night Army, namely the captain of the exclusive army to protect the city. The captain looked so cool that Yin Zhang's thoughts went astray, and he began to praise him as he prepared for battle. Yin Zhang said, "Oh, this armor is so cool, very impressive sizes, and these UPD are strong, probably, and I'm going to TST in battle right now." At that moment, two red error windows suddenly popped up in front of Yin Zhang, saying that the server had failed. But everything around continued. The Empress began the story of the Roaring Mushroom Fortress. Roaring Mushroom Fortress. This is the only fortress in the entire empire that has never surrendered to the orcs in its entire history. It was she who was guarded by the army of the Grey Rose. In the most difficult times, the entire army of the Grey Rose was crushed. They were destroyed or wounded. Only Gribba himself survived. Alone, he held the fortress for 5 hours in a row without time for sleep, food, and rest. More than 200,000 orcs were killed or wounded in that battle. And after that, Gribba himself received another name, Roaring Fortress. Yin Zhang began to admire him, and Gribba himself at that moment said, "No one can break through my garrison unharmed." But Yin Zhang, suddenly shaking the ground below them, broke through his garrison and began to pose, showing off that he was able to pass. Gribba did not understand what had just happened, and the Empress did not even notice how the man standing nearby with her. He ended up in a completely different place. Judging by the attribute panel of the karma of the Empress, it's safe to pass here. Like Yin Zhang, the Empress will not succeed. Then he decided that he himself should pick her up, and again, in the blink of an eye, he practically teleported and took the Empress in her arms. Gribba praised his speed, said that it was much higher than he expected, and asked Yin Zhang how he did it. Gribba was very angry that Yin Zhang did not look at him while he was talking to him. So he said, "Ashol, look ating a me, wait in I talk." After that, he created such a strong air circulation with his weapon that looked and felt like a tornado. Yin Zhang was even afraid that they might be sucked into it. Suddenly, Yin Zhang flew into the air. He shocked Gribba so much that even his mouth opened. Gribba said to himself, "He can fly even with such a wind?" An ordinary person could not do this, and besides, with another person in his arms. And the Empress did not understand at all what was happening there and practically fainted. Yin Zhang uses his signature Dead Beast Fist Strike 6 form. Using this strike, he purposefully, just like an eagle, flies towards Mushroom and hits in with an accurate elbow strike. After such a blow, it was surprising that he could still stand on his feet, but his armor was already broken, and his helmet was completely shattered into fragments. After his helmet fell off, the Empress recognized him. It was Xiao. He was an ordinary craftsman. Then the Empress said, "Really? You weren't caught after you built that pipe?" He replied to her, "You mean that I should be secretly executed by order of your father?" The Empress dismounted from Yin Zhang and continued to speak. "I know, no matter what I can say or do now, the mistakes my father made, I can't undo. But you are behind the Sutton Rebellion, and forgive the betrayal of your I do not intend to people. Keezer's family instructions, Article 3, Disobedient Commander. And as punishment, you must be cut by the sword of the king. Annihilation." Before she could finish speaking, Yin Zhang quickly picked her up and rushed from that place as quickly as possible. The Empress yelled at him, saying, "Smelly pastor, how dare you interrupt my royal speech?" And Yin Zhang told her, "Don't you dare destroy him. You can't beat him, and he can't catch up with me. Just run and that's it, no problem." But the unexpected happened. Xiao cut the bridge they were about to run across with a single swing of his spear, thus leaving them with no escape route, and said, "If you don't fight me fair, you'll have to fight me bad." Yin Zhang said, "Uncle, you and your weapons are really very good, but I can jump this distance even with a pig on my back." Then Xiao replied that he had already realized that he would not be able to catch him, but even you could not escape from the air with a burden on your hands, and used fire bite bomb launch. Yin Zhang let go of the Empress and told Xiao, "You are a strong opponent. At least in combat, you are really great, so you really interested me." Xiao answered him, "So what? Do you want to fight me for Her Majesty the Queen?" But he told him, "Of course not. I'm a priest, not a warrior. You're too aggressive, so I don't want to fight you. It's unreasonable." What he said greatly shocked Xiao, because he did not know that Yin Zhang was a priest. Xiao said that he admits he really doesn't look like a priest at all, but this kid really is a priest. Then Yin Zhang sent the Empress to destroy Xiao, and he said that he would heal her a little later, and he himself got up to cheer for her. Xiao began to speak, Since your majesty mentioned earlier the Caesar's family instructions. Point 3. I remembered another one. A bad fighter is not worthy of inheriting the throne. So, your majesty, just because of your weakness, you don't even deserve to be at the head of Caesar's empire. What he said made the Empress very angry, so much so that she immediately rushed into battle and decided to prove the opposite to him. Xiao received the first blow, which he blocked and said, "And what kind of power is this? Everything that you have got to you only because of your father and grandfather." Everything was very difficult. The man understood that in a few seconds the girl's body would be hit by her own sword. The fight was in full. The woman tried her best to defeat him. She ordered him to be silent immediately, otherwise everything would be bad. The man did not care at all about her statements. Xiao did not even move from his place, and the strength of the girl was weak. Yin Zhang understood that the Empress was very skilled in swordsmanship, but her physical training could not but depress. The Empress was already almost defeated. She felt very bad. Xiao decided to take a big step. It hardly worked, but still he showed his most powerful strength, or rather the true strength of a mighty warrior. Everything worked out. The Empress flew 10 meters back and got hurt. She was not very well because of such strength. She understood that Xiao would not win. It was difficult to win with his physique. You are not even worthy of knowledge of the imperial swordsmanship of the Caesar family, Xiao said. She understood that there was no way back. Her eyes were closing and she was opening her eyes. Yin Zhang looked at this whole situation. He was at a loss and regretted. The Empress cried very hard. Her tears could not be stopped. Sadness haunted her. Xiao still humiliated her, calling her a disgrace to the entire royal family. Yin Zhang could not stand all this anymore. The guy shouted at Xiao. He realized that he had gone too far and touched on the girl's personal life. Who said that in order to become a good emperor you need to be able to fight? If this is true, then I will fight you myself, Yin Zhang said. The Empress was shocked by the guy's act. She did not even expect such words from him. Xiao was confident in himself. He cracked his neck, and also he started laughing at the guy calling him not a priest. Due to the fact that his level was not enough to learn Mind Fire, he decided to use only active skills, to resurrect the spirit of warriors. Yin Zhang hit the ground with all his might. In fact, he wasn't weak either. All his strength fluttered. The fire blazed from him as if anger aggressiveness was his middle name. That was the duty of a shepherd, he said. His strength was so powerful that the earth began to shake. Everything around them shook terribly. The guy was too strong for this world. Near their battle, everything exploded to the ground and burned down. Xiao looked at all this with wide eyes. It seemed strange to him that Yin Zhang did everything so quickly. The Empress was also shocked by such an act of the hero. Yin Zhang's fist was the fist of truth. If he got it in battle, then everyone scattered immediately to the sides. Xiao realized that he needed to act. He activated his shield in order to stay alive. However, the shield was broken because of such power. He could not stand it at all. Did the boy really decide to attack my chest hidden under heavy armor? Xiao flew back. The strength that the boy had shocked him. The fist directly slammed into his chest as planned earlier by the boy. Because of this, he screamed at the top of his voice. His organs could not restrain himself. All the stones flew in different directions. Yin Zhang's magic attack shocked everyone. Even he himself was shocked by all this. The guy was sure of himself, of course, but not enough to crush a huge man. With one blow, he knocked him out of the arena, with just one blow. An ordinary priest was able to break the strongest armored body with one blow. Xiao did not understand how this was possible. Again, there was a huge explosion. The guy was proud of himself. Smoke was coming from his hand, because before he did not make such attacks. The hand even began to burn because of such applied force, and he extinguished it. Yin Zhang had a second-level fracture as well as a third-level fracture. Now he will have to handle the Quetzalto hammer with only his left hand. The right one can hardly be called capable of anything now. He needs to reach the second level as soon as possible in order to learn recovery skills. However, Xiao was also quite strong. He woke up calling the guy. The man told him that he was just a monster in hand-to-hand combat. And given this, he decided to become a priest. Yin Zhang was really interested in him. The Dead Beast Fist powerful technique, which had a striking power of as much as 200%, didn't hit him hard enough. But I won't allow myself to open up to you again, Xiao said with a laugh and started attacking the priest. The Empress asked the guy to be careful because anything can happen, and it's better not to hope for anything. And that's all. If you want to continue, please let us know in the comments. See you soon.